Whatever you like the most is what I would consider you a nerd of. You're just a video nerd. I'm just an actual nerd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
But like, if you can be bought, you're no better than anybody else. Like, I gotta get paid to talk about apps that don't really work. Like I'm trying it. I'm like, bro, this isn't working.
It's not even doing
like,
it.
It's not doing what you're telling me it's supposed to do.
And there's been some bigger creators get caught up in situations too with things not working out after they've sold their audience on a product, right?
There's two things that they don't tell you when your content is going viral. Is one,
Welcome back to another episode of Wealthy Creator Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Berry, and today I got a good friend of mine as a guest, man. Kyle Treadwell is here with us, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, baby. I'm good. How are you?
I'm ecstatic, bro. I'm happy to have you here. I'm excited for this conversation, man, because you have so much going on, so many good things happening as of recently and stuff as far as your businesses are concerned. For the people out there, tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what it is that you do.
I am a content creator, business owner, and just kind of like a serial entrepreneur at the end of the day. Like, I think those are the easiest ways to encapsulate everything I do.
That's awesome, dude. Like, and he's being modest with like content creator because he is the content creator. Just in the last week, he's done 15 million views. And so, you know, first, let me tip my hat to that, right? Like, you figured out how to capture people's attention with your branding. What do you say now? Like, you know, hundreds of millions of views since last year.
So as far as what? Rephrase that for me.
Just so like when it comes to your socials, like just specifically Instagram, right? Like for those of you who are looking for him, Nerd Alert Kyle is where you can find him on Instagram. But, you know, even, you know, for the newbie that doesn't know who you are, when they click on that page and they go look at your reels, the first thing they're going to see on those first few are millions of views on those videos.
Correct.
So within the last year or so, I said hundreds of millions of views, you would say. You got to figure it out. Tell me a little bit about your process behind, you know, and your thinking behind when you create videos, what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish.
I think the easiest way to look at content is to realize that you don't have a lot of time and you want to be able to tell people what the video is about, but also just give them enough information to leave them curious, right? So with the most recent formula that I have is, I call it the check this out like formula, where it's like, I'll literally just explain what the video that you're about to watch is, and then just cut to the video. And then that will like inspire people to either like talk about the content, or like the most recent like Pokemon one that I did with the Mandela effect with Onyx, right? I have people fighting over it to this day, whether it was ONYX or ONIX, right? But I sat and explained what I remembered, which gave them the basis of being like, I remember that too, which allowed them to connect to me. And then I had like a whole probably 48 to 72 hour period where people are being like, bro, I'm right here with you. Like, they're sending me pictures of their Pokemon cards, just sending me pictures of like, bro, I don't believe this. Like, they're digging out all their old Game Boys and games. Like, it was awesome because it gave me that like ability to connect with my community on a different level, where it's like, now we're like all trying to figure out the answer to this, and we're all like Mythbusters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Check you out method is we gonna kind of claim that now as Kyle's strategy tip. Because I always tell people too, like, when they have information that is relatable to a mass audience, like for you, I feel like there's a huge play on nostalgic like content in this, right? Like, you talk Pokemon, you talk anime sometimes, like you talk those things, and it's like, it brings up childhood memories for people of our generation. And so it is, if you can hook well enough, which is what we always call it, the check it out is the hook for us, right? Like if you can do that well enough, you will capture audience and retain audience, you know, really well. So I heard you say a couple things there, right? The one is obviously the hook, right? Figuring out in those first few seconds how to get people's attention and get them to stay, right? And you do that by introducing, you know, the next part of the video. But one thing you also said was also being relatable and finding a way to kind of capture your audience in that way so that they can feel invited and want to know more about what it is you're saying. So do you do research on that? Are you speaking from just your experience, your heart, or like how do you figure out, you know, where to go and what direction to go when you're creating?
So I start with, I've thrown a lot of things at the wall, actually. And I think that's kind of what's led me to this new formula is like, there's times where I've like tried to say something like off the cuff, but it doesn't people can see through that in my personality. You know what I mean? Like I am not that individual that's going to be like, this guy sucks. Here's why. You know what I mean? Like, but I think that is what led me to that process of understanding like what heads works. Like I've posted probably at least 2,000, 3,000 videos in the last, year or two. So I've gone through like, this works, this doesn't, this kind of works. I could work better on this. Like it was just a lot of trial and error for me, but I did do a lot of research and I tried out a lot of like, I would say what the like gurus are telling you, like the TikTok ones and all that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, it's cool to try, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that's where you have to find a way to take that information and make it apply to your content. Yeah. And that's where I kind of found my unique stride in that realm.
Got you. Okay, so let's take it back. All right, let's go back to before the hundreds of millions of views. All right, and tell me how the branding and how the idea came up for Nerd Alert, Kyle.
So when I started posting, everything was still branded like Nova Wave Kyle, right, from the record label. I was coming out of the music industry. Like I was sitting here being like, okay, what's next? What do I love just as much as the music industry, but I hold the control over?
Yeah.
Because that was the hardest part with the music industry is I had no control over what path forward I could take. Like you could get shut down in a minute in that industry. So I looked at it and I had a conversation with one of my good friend's wives, and she was telling us about a website called Nerd Locker that they used to own. And I was like, what? Hold on, what's this? And she's like, yeah, my husband runs this site called Nerd Locker and they shut down and he's been like really upset about it. And I was like, but I like nerdy things. Where's this going? Right?
Yeah.
So I asked her, I was like, would you guys be interested in like doing something else of the sort and like starting something new with us? So we pitched it to Jimmy, who's her husband. He's like, I love this, all about it, whatever. And I built this website in like a day.
Wow.
And then got it up and running. And then we started like, I think we spent probably the first month and a half just dumping content onto the website. And then it wasn't until like the beginning of September that we started to do like the actual like nerdy like content, right?
Okay.
So it's like I started to roll into, because originally I was just going to do like news stories where it's like you see like an anime in the back and then it'll say like the title of what that was. And that was how I was going to go forward with it. I wasn't going to involve me in it at all.
Okay.
So I was just going to make it like visually, like basically like a visual headline was how I was thinking about it. And then that just did nothing.
Yeah.
And it did not work the way that I wanted it to. So I had to like, pivot again. And then I started to look at like, okay, what is relatable, but still kind of nerdy. And then I started to think about the word nerd differently because people like have that stigma of it's like, just a kid who likes math and all that kind of stuff. But I think about it all the time. Like you're just a video nerd. You know what I mean? Like I'm just an actual nerd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
But like whatever you like the most is what I would consider you a nerd of. Like, people like nurses, you're a health nerd. You know what I mean? Like that's how I've looked at the space. And from there, I think that was what allowed me to relate to everybody because I just started being like, okay, if you like this, or this, I can find a way to relate with you in that respect.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Right, like it's funny. Every time I talk tech to people, like even when I'm coaching, like we, Wealth of Creator, we coach 40 to 50 people twice a week, every call, right? And when the questions come up about tech and I start explaining them, I catch myself because I'm like, all right, guys, I know I'm gonna get nerdy in this moment.
Yep.
But I need you all to kind of stay with me here, right? And so I totally understand what you mean by like, yeah, it's whatever you're interested in, all right? Because there can be a hip hop nerd, there can be the basketball nerd, like it's just whatever you're really into it. That information you know more than the average person about,
right? And
you're passionate about it,
yeah. And that's what is my new definition of the word that I'm trying to like brand out this way is like, bro, you're just a, video nerd.
Yeah.
Like Ryan's a real estate nerd. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just whatever you like the most, like you said.
Yeah. So it sparked your attention first, right? Because you found something that not only, your friend was passionate about, but you can see where you fit in and you were passionate about.
It was more like, bro, just let me help.
Yeah. Because and that's how it goes, dude. Like, that's how I fell into video, right? Because I was doing photography the entire time, right? I was doing wedding photography, and I was like, I'll serve this church and help where I can, and I began to understand video a lot better. Right. And then I realized, I can make more money on video. All right. You know what I mean? And a little more work, but more money. And so like it was a thing where it was like, how can I help first? And then a skill began to develop. Right. But you said one thing that caught my attention too. You said you built the website in a day.
Yes.
So like a real nerd.
Yeah.
not just nerdy for like, the nostalgic and Pokemon and anime, right? Like you actually sat down and built that website. How did you come up with the concepts for that?
I mocked it up off of, I believe, how I was looking at it, because I looked at like what news places I like normally like would check out, and then Hip Hop DX was actually the site that I kind of like literally stole the entire concept of.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I just like the way that it's clean cut, like you can see everything that you need to. And then I was like looking at how everything is set up, and I was like, I just like their color scheme. I like how it works, it flows, and then I was just kind of just copy and pasted that.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I believe Hip Hop DX on Instagram and the content they made also did the article thing that you were talking about, right? Like where they had kind of the headline and then it explained the article. So yeah, I can understand that. And this is just to the people listening and the people that are watching, right? It's okay to grab inspiration from somewhere, right? Like you don't have to go mimic everything someone else is doing, but you should have some type of inspiration from somebody that's doing it successfully already, right? Obviously, like you said earlier, things are going to shift for you because not everything that works for someone works for everyone, but there are ways of using that inspiration to create something well. I can speak from our experience, and working with Ryan and doing all of our content. We do pay close attention to what other people are doing, right? Because that's the only way you know what's working and what's not working.
Right.
And so we'll pay close attention, and we'll steal inspiration from other people's content to figure out how to make it fit and kind of apply to whatever we're doing with Ryan or with one of the other wealthy brands. So I love that you said that, because you was like, all right, I just kind of, I kind of mimicked and beta and made this beta website from what I saw, from the other side. So that's awesome. Tell me from that point though, you decided, okay, at what point did you decide like I'm all in on this? Like what had to happen for you to go, okay, I'm totally sold, I'm in it. We're gonna do this.
So here's the craziest part is I have really just been, I had been locked in a space for 10 years, right?
Okay.
Like I felt like I was kind of lost wandering the woods, right?
Yeah.
And I like tried a bunch of stuff like before getting to like the nerd alert stuff. And I was like, the only thing that solidifies this for me and the only thing that I'm holding on to is this Instagram handle. And the second that I changed it, I was like, it's here.
Yeah.
And it was like, I even took a poll and I called everybody. I was like, bro, like, do I just let go to 10 years of branding on this and then just whatever? And they're like, are you all like you out of the music industry? And that was the question I got. And I was like, yeah. And then they were like, there's no reason for you to hold it then. And then when I changed it, I was like, okay. It was a mental switch of being like, now I'm officially this new personality that I'm trying to bridge. Yeah. That may sound a little off color there. I got some personality issues here, but I promise it's like, that was the switch for me. And the second that happened, I was like, I get to talk about the things that I want to talk about. I get to bring in people that love these things, and they don't have a platform to talk about it because they pigeonhole themselves over here. Now you can come hang out with me and we can talk about Pokemon. You know what I mean? Or you can come hang over here and we can talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like Magic the Gathering or any of these like other crazy stuff. Like I wanted to be the person that you could come hang out with and talk about the things that you actually love, even though you've spent 1,000 years becoming, an NBA legend or like, whatever. And like I have like music industry friends that I am going to like create content with that like, I never thought that like we'd be talking about this topic. Like I just did one with Mike's, I think it's Squirrels. Okay. But he's like a legendary like music producer, like produced with like all the independent artists. Yeah. And he like, has done like 25 million streams on Spotify. And he's like, bro, he texted me, he's like, you want to do a Pokemon list? I'm like, yes, bro. Like, what do you mean?
That's crazy.
But like, that's what I'm trying to offer. Like and showcase to the world is that like, you can just come hang out with me and I'll take all the hate comments and you can go back to your NBA world. You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome, dude. Like it is it's a safe place for nerds, right? Like I can talk to you because it's funny. Like even this conversation that we've had several conversations about like extremely nerdy things, right? Like it's just how the conversations go because, you know, what people don't know about the individual that is sitting in front of the camera is everything that they do outside of their performance here at work. Correct. Right. And so it's fun to have an outlet for people, right? Like that's fun. I understand that completely. But going back to what you even said about the shift that you made from music industry, and that is the moment that you knew like you were all in on it and you are doing something. I have that same experience, right? Like, you know, any athlete can relate to the point of when they decide, all right, it's time now to move on from the sport and figure out what's next.
Yep.
Right. And as much as it hurts, it's like, all right, I have to figure out what that looks like. Right. So after college, I was like, all right, do I chase this, you know, this opportunity and go play overseas for minimum money and live, you know, like a nomad for a little while, like just moving around the country, team to team? And do I love the sport to that level where I'm willing to sacrifice my mental health to do it? Had to make a choice there, right? But then it's the other side is like, okay, then what are you going to do? Because you've been training your whole life to do this one thing. It's no different in music because my dad was in music. I understand it completely. It's like you this journey of trying to get and tap into this industry is hard, right? There's very few that do it. No different than the NBA players, right? Like there's 400 of them and that's, you know, every year, right? Like you got to hope to get in there. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things where that shift does really have a lot of impact on the person. Even of recently, right? Like, you know, last year there was no Justin Berry brand at all. Right? Like the stuff that I was posting was family or like moments that like happy birthday posts, right? Like that's just what it was. I didn't care at all about my brand because I was working so hard to grow other individuals, specifically Ryan's, right? And then there became a point where Ryan was like, you got to start building your own because your authority is already there. What you've been able to do for the company in the last 2 years gives you that authority. All right. And I'm looking at a page that was J Berry 30. 30 was my jersey number. Right. And it's like letting go that part of like, it wasn't easy. I was like, dude, like if I, like everybody.
It's gone.
Yeah. Everybody that I know and I got personal relationships with knew the 30 was for the jersey number, but it was time. Right. It was like, all right, like you can't brand in that way anymore. Right. And now people that knew you before are going to start seeing a different individual now that you're stepping out and getting in front of the lens. And so it was like, all right, let's go get Justin Berry's Instagram. So, I spent a year almost like DMing the same dude trying to get the Instagram account from him. He wouldn't give it to me. And then finally found somebody that could help me out and get it for me. But now I'm seeing the growth on the channel because you start showing what it is that you're doing professionally and you're actually becoming known for something. And so that shift does like, it happens and it usually benefits you well if you're all in on what you want that brand to be.
Right.
So again, to the people listening, right, like figuring out who you're going to be, who your audience is and who your avatar that you're trying to reach, understanding who you are, right? Like what's fun is that it becomes really easy when you talk about what you know.
Yeah.
It's not fun when you're an imposter and trying to like mimic somebody else or talk about things that you haven't actually done.
Well, that's what happened to me when I first started making videos, right? Is like I started with the AI stuff. And I was like, I am like, again, a nerd. I can learn things. I like tech things, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is trendy. This is fun to talk about. And then I got to the point that I'm like searching on the internet for like something to talk about. And I'm like, this feels so like it wasn't as fun. Like it was cool. Yes, it was getting views and like I was like getting that like, dopamine dump and all that kind of stuff. But like I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not sustainable. There's no part about this is that I have to like find a switch here. And that's when I was like, okay, let's go the anime route. Let's go the like, nostalgia route. Let's go talking about news stories. Let's talk about like, and then sprinkle some AI stuff in there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I needed to replace it. I just needed to not make, because I was originally just going to go straight AI. And I was like, I'm going to just be the AI guy that's talking about all this, get all these AI sponsorships. Like I got a sponsorship from the Captions app. Like that was one of the first things that I ever got. And like they had me do this video on It was the eye tracking. So it's like when you're reading it, it keeps your eyes, like if you're looking over here, it keeps it over here.
Right.
And that just felt like, it just didn't feel right when I did it. And I was like, bro, like, is this what I'm gonna get paid to talk about apps that don't really work? Like, I'm trying it, and I'm like, bro, this isn't working.
It's not even doing
like,
it.
It's not doing what you're telling me it's supposed to do. So like, I'm getting paid to talk about something I don't believe in. And then that's where I was like, let me just pivot a little bit, and we can still sprinkle some of that stuff in.
So how do you feel now, like landscape? Because I want to touch on just the sponsorship thing, because I think that's important for our audience to hear. There have been times where, like, because I get all of the media inquiries for Orion, right? Like, and I go through them. I look through every single one of them. It's hundreds a day, but I do look through them because I want to know who's interested in kind of like, you know, collaborating and sponsoring some of our stuff, right? Obviously, with him, he has so many companies. Mostly every company that tries to, you know, collaborate with us is a competitor.
Right.
So I can't touch them, right? Like, I would love to go collect all that sponsorship stuff.
Absolutely.
But that's the situation. That's just the nature of it. But I say all that to say, when it comes to sponsoring or when it comes to kind of like, you know, collaborating with individuals that you don't necessarily believe on the product, how do you go about making that judgment before the product is actually used? I know for me, I had a few AI things reach out, and there were even some like free trials that I did that they sent. And I was like, all right, some of it works, some of it doesn't, some of it still needs a little work, right? But I haven't tested it long enough to know if this is going to be the next big thing or not.
Right.
How do you go about making that judgment when you have those opportunities?
So that one particularly was, I had been using the app like prior to that, before like I had even got like linked up with like the Way Better crew or like anybody over there that was doing the editing, right?
Yep.
So, and before I learned to do it myself. So I was using the app. So I had like known about it, but this was like a new feature they were adding to it. And so I got like they sent an update directly to my phone, which was crazy.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
I got this like update of like what this new software piece that they were working on was. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, it looks all right. It works like meh. But then you get swayed by these zeros sometimes, and you're like, well, you know, I guess I could make 40 seconds about this. And then I don't know, it feels, it's this, right? Where it's like, is this going to benefit me? Or because I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I can leverage this to get more like brand deals and partnerships and then all that kind of stuff. But then I was like, part of me is like, do I even post this? Because it's really not like, I'm looking at it and it's trying to get it to work. But like, if you watch the video, you'd be like, bro, your eyes are still moving. Like,
so are there enough zeros to make you believe that it works?
Not anymore. I would say at one point in my life, yes, for sure. It would like, the integrity wasn't there, but I'm getting a lot more comfortable in what my actual value is that I'm bringing to the table, and also understanding that like, if you can be bought, you're no better than anybody else. You know what I mean? So
all right, so I'll keep following you then. But no, in all seriousness, like that is one of the things I see in our landscape all the time, right? Like, and there's been some bigger creators get caught up in situations too with things not working out after they've sold their audience on a product, right? And so it's important. I think that is another reason why, like, you know, the Wealthy team doesn't take a lot of these sponsorship offers, because we know we can trust our product. Right. And let's say our product doesn't work well for someone, we can work it out to where they get the same amount of value for whatever they pay for and make things work. We can't promise you that with an outside company. Right.
And that is half the challenge too. Like, when I posted that video, I think it got like, 30K, and then people were being like, where can I download this? What's the thing? And I'm like, I was hoping it would be a dud.
Yeah.
And because like they like the payment had been done, the contract was signed, everything of the sorts. Like all I had to do was post it. Like it didn't matter what the numbers were or anything of the sorts. Like, but sometimes that is baked into the contract too. Like some people pay per like 1,000 view. So that's, I don't know which camera to look at, but if that is in your contract, be very sure in what you're posting, because they're not going to pay you out on nothing if you don't get like X amount of views on it.
Yeah. You know, some of those contracts are crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of them aren't even worth you doing. No. Just time wise. Yeah. It's like you got nothing coming from this. There's because even your audience isn't interested. Right? Because the company don't care. If you're getting views, they don't care what your audience or who your audience is. They just want to get eyeballs And so they want you to put your, their content in front of your audience, but that doesn't mean your audience takes action on it.
Right.
And if the contract is for you to get paid on the action taken,
right.
you'll receive nothing. And I've seen that happen to several people. They're like, dude, I'll never work with them again. They just ripped me off. I'm like, no, you didn't read the contract.
No,
right? It was you. It wasn't them. Right? They played it smart. So, but it's just a learning tool. So going back to Kyle though, in your nerd alert, what do you see 5 years from now for that brand?
I think that we could be in contention with like the IGNs and like the digital space of like nerd updates and like gaming and all that kind of stuff. I think that we could exist, maybe not be at like, above any of them at that time, but I think I can build out an infrastructure that would at least make us a competitor. And I've already proven that to a point. We just recently got featured in an Amazon commercial.
Okay.
And that was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. Cause like I have an email coming in that like says Amazon's requesting to approve these quotes. And I'm like, what does this even mean? So I click it, and one of our writers is a Rotten Tomatoes like approved writer. So he did a review on The Wheel of Time, which is an Amazon Prime exclusive show. Mm-hmm. And they liked his review so much that they pulled 2 quotes for their TV spot. So you see those commercials that's like Rotten Tomatoes said it's like certified fresh. It's like their certified fresh commercial.
It was his quote.
So we have like 2 quotes in the certified fresh commercial for The Wheel of Time, and like that has already begun. Like I think we've got 5,000 views on the website this week alone. You know what I mean? So I think that we can definitely like compete, and we have the personalities for it and the vision and the drive. It's just going to take brand recognition. Okay. And me finally dropping the app I've been talking about for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So
first was the Amazon commercial what you all were hinting at when you were telling me I can't give you full details yet? This was like maybe 2 months ago.
One of them.
Okay.
I still got one more for you.
Okay. We're going to get it out of you this podcast. All right. So stay tuned because we about to get it. We about to pull all the information out and ruin all his deals. All right. But no, in all seriousness, this is, that's awesome. Right. Like, and that just shows the power of like, again, that collaboration, right? This was a collaboration between you, the writer, Amazon, right? Like things just kind of start to align when you put yourself in position. And really, it really starts with, the content creation process, right? You had to create it first for it to be available for a writer to do. So tell me how important it is for your personal content that is going out on your pages to play, or even does it play a major part in that 5-year plan? And when you're saying you want to compete with the IGNs,
I think so, because I believe what I'm doing is only getting like with these videos that have done millions of views in the past like week or so, that's all just to drive people to the website. Like people look at it and be like, what are you trying to do here? And I'm like, if you like look at stuff, like I'm giving you enough entertaining stuff that you're going to want to come back and like argue in the comments about Pokemon again, or like come back and like take a poll on the website. But like I drive everyone to the website. So then we're going like YouTube. Like YouTube, we just recently, I think we've got almost 600 videos up there in the last month. But it's just because we're going long form to short form. And like you literally like upload, I think we shoot maybe 10 10-minute videos on Sundays. Yep. And then we'll break those down into shorts, and then they feed back to the long form. So like we've already got, about 300 subs on YouTube, and we've only been doing it for like a couple weeks now. So yes, I believe content drives, like I don't know if the train moves without the content. You know what I mean? So that's, to answer your question, yes.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I knew the answer to that going into it because I understand how important it is to put a face to things as well. Right? Like, yeah, you can have a really strong brand and a company that has no face, right? Like, there's no face for Nike other than its athletes.
Right.
Right. But if you look at the Nike check, you will recognize that even before no matter what you see it on, right? It doesn't have to be on an athlete. But for people that are building personal brands and are trying to compete with the likes of a Nike, you got to put a face to it, right? Like, I always use this example, all right? And it's the Kylie Cosmetics. I have not heard one woman say she loves it so much that it was the best product she ever bought. I haven't heard that, right? But they are totally bought in on the Kardashian and Jenner brand. Right? Because they have been in your face for the last 20 years.
Yeah, facts.
Right? And led the market of influence, right? That's just how it goes. And so with that trust that they've gained, that acknowledgement that they've gained, it doesn't matter how good the product is. I'm sure there are better products out there, right? But it's because of that trust, and it is having that face to put to it, right? So Kyle, the individual, is more of who people are beginning to fall in love with, not the product.
Correct.
Right? The product is the bonus, and I'm going to support you because I like you. Right? It's that know, like, and trust that we always teach, you know, in our wealthy world. But like knowing that means like, okay, it doesn't matter what Kyle's doing. Like you told me you did Funko, I was like, all right, I'm rolling. Right? Like just because of the possibility of like, man, dude, like there are certain pieces of that culture that I just love. Right? And it's not, I'm not necessarily like the big time collector. Right? But when I'm in that room and around that culture, it just feels good. It's fun.
Yeah, it is
right?
fun.
And so to have somebody who will lead the market at some point of that culture, it's good. It's no different than me with sneakers. Right? Like I just had DJ Sneakerhead on. DJ is a good friend. He's leading that culture in the sneaker world, right? Like it's just who he is what he's doing. He's passionate about it.
I gotta watch that episode because did you guys talk about the Nike update on like the StockX stuff?
No, we talked about it afterwards, so there's gonna be some shorts that come out about it. But no, we didn't get it. I wanted to keep it creator for this audience, right? Like you're gonna be able to find other stuff that we gonna do for that because again, that's so niche, and that's what I wanted to get into next with you, just on because this is it is gonna be a niche audience that intakes your content. But you're seeing like huge responses from it. A lot of questions that I get from creators that are in our program is they know that their niche is extremely like small. Right? Like it's not a lot of people, especially because we deal with real estate, we deal with finance, we deal with that education space as well. And so there's a small group of people that may want to intake their content. I'm always explaining them like they have to make broader stuff to go along with those niche pieces. But tell me how you accomplish doing that with what you have going on.
From niching down?
Yep.
The easiest way is to go like, you look at some of the biggest IPs that exist, right? You've got your Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, right? Like everyone can relate to one of these three, right? Like at least 95% of the planet, right? So I start with like, here's an idea about a Disney like theory, right? Like I'll go and find, like we recently just did one on Monsters Inc. So I was like, I know everyone who's my age has seen Monsters Inc., but also has seen like Toy Story. I was like, and I found this neat little thread that ties them all together. It basically like there's a monster that runs out of the door and he's afraid of the kid, right? And that's not how Monsters Inc. is supposed to work. But if you look at the poster in the back, the monster's coming out of Sid's room from Toy Story, and Sid's a terrifying child. Right. So. But I take that idea and I'm like, okay, how do we drive this all the way back to the website or to who I am? And I do that in the comments.
Gotcha.
So for me, I ask additional questions as things go viral. So like I'll make a post and I'll pin it. And like, for example, the Onyx one, I'd like pick is it team O and YX or IX, right? And like the YX one's got 30,000, and then I'll drop like follow-up questions in there that gets these people to love me as a person. Yes, there are some awful comments, and yes, the hat that I wear 95% of the time does not lead people to be nice on me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's those times that like it allows me to build that community that eventually I hope will like not be. They'll be defending for me without like me having to be like, man. Yeah. Because like those first 50 comments, bro, hurt. Yeah. And then the next 500, you're like, all right, I guess you are kind of funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta learn to laugh at it, right? You just you laugh to keep them crying, right? But it's awesome though. Like you're building your community through your comment section, which is different. Yeah. Right. Because most people try to build community through the DMs and through the Facebook group and through all these other areas that they try to create so that they can kind of funnel them all into one area. You doing it in the comments leaves it open for anybody. Yeah. how much work does it take?
Oh, bro, a lot.
So you're commenting all the time.
So when a video is going like viral, there's two things that they don't tell you when like your content is going viral. Is one, people are gonna say some really terrible things in the comments, right? And it's gonna get under your skin if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
And number two is they're not gonna prepare you for like the like content that comes out of it, like the people that'll react to it, or the people that are like going to make memes or like think like I had people sending me memes of like me in a fire hydrant, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, it's funny and I can laugh at it now, but like if you're not used to it and like you go from like a 0 place to like a 100 place with that, like I can understand why some of these kids are like terrified and like, you know, have no idea what to expect because like they went from being a regular person to not in like a matter of moments, right?
Right.
And I think on the community aspect of that, I try to build that out in the public so people can also see who I am as an individual. And yes, there are moments I've definitely been caught in the comments saying something like off key, you know what I mean? But like they started it, you know?
Yeah. This is just a reaction.
Right. But then what I have been doing recently is driving people to broadcast channels, at least with Instagram, which is my favorite feature that's ever been rolled out with Instagram, because I am such a variety creator and I have so many different things that I do. So I have like a broadcast channel for like anime, Marvel, like all new videos.
Different.
Like
Gotcha.
they're all about like just segmenting the market like that, of being like, you followed me for AI stuff. Okay, follow this channel. So when I post an AI video, I can send it to that channel and you don't have to pay attention to everything else.
Okay.
So
For these broadcast channels, I haven't used that feature at all yet.
okay.
Like I haven't done it just because the company is so focused on driving leads for our events and for our products that I haven't gotten into that just yet. Tell me, like, and I think this would be good for the audience listening. Tell me more about that setup. So, like, for instance, we have 5 or 6 companies. Would it be smart to create a broadcast channel for each one that makes unique content for each one? Or how are you funneling people from one broadcast channel to another when it is a different kind of like subject matter?
I think the easiest way for you guys to do that would be to have one that's like an introductory, like one that is maybe just like a bunch of posts of videos that you should have seen already, right?
Okay.
Like ones that have come on the last year of being like, okay, this is how you understand what wealthy like investor is, right? And then you quite literally have like an introduction video, all this like posted, and then when they join the broadcast channel, they are at the top, so they have to scroll through it, and then you could like, you can leave voice notes, you can leave all kinds of stuff in there. You could explain each one after it, being like, watch this video to understand what we do here in our ecosystem, right? And then you could like literally break down what each video is, and then you could have like a second level that's like invite only or subscriber only, because you can have subscriber only broadcast channels. So if you have like some paid clients, you could have them like subscribe to the Instagram. That gives you guys another revenue stream that also allows you to have like exclusive buyers all in one place. Like maybe your highest end clients, right?
Yeah.
So.
And that content you're creating is just pre-filmed content.
Yeah.
And so interactions on that, is that all just done on the platform?
So there's 2 ways you can do. You can post directly to the broadcast channel, or you can like send a reel there.
Okay.
So like say you already had like 5 videos that fit that criteria. You could just send them all to the broadcast channel and then explain them in between. And then that way you can be like, this is like our level 1 of like what we're trying to do. If you fit this criteria, send an email here, or like you can work in your flow throughout that aspect. But I think I wouldn't do more than 2 for those businesses because you guys are pretty like you're super niched down, and I would have like one open to everybody and then like a closed off one.
Yeah. So for an individual that just has one business, the broadcast
you can
channel,
also have collaborator ones too. So you could have all of them in one place, like all of your companies in one broadcast channel too.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so like that individual that has one business and wants to use their broadcast channel to monetize, it's better for them to do the paid or subscriber channel that allows people to pay to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But then at that point, they should be making exclusive content.
Right. And that's kind of what the subscription system is with Instagram. I don't know if you've ever played with it, but when you subscribe to someone, like you can build out like a whole like way, like you have a welcome video, you have like exclusive group chats, you have like all this kind of stuff in the like subscribe to you features. So
and I can individualize it to an individual.
Yeah.
So like individuals that are in my one-on-one coaching, I can I can have them subscribe to a channel that way and make specific content for them one-on-one.
Correct. So say you had like, I would say it would have to be levels of clients, right? It wouldn't be more like one-on-one. It'd be like, these are your level 1 clients where you would bring them in and like they would get that like introductory level and they would get all of the stuff here. And then you can be like, once you finished and got through all of level 1, you go to level 2. And then your highest tier here is level 3, which has your...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Instagram is doing that. I didn't know it was that detailed.
Yeah.
Right? Like I had no idea that it was that detailed. I got to dig more into that because I think that's something that can be very useful for individuals that are not only trying to build a community, but do education or do like those the coaching, right?
It's like it's free, paid, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you drive them forward in that aspect. Like you could build out a whole broadcast channel / subsystem that's just giving people enough. Like it's only, I think the max you can pay is like $15 a month.
Yeah.
So you give them a $15 a month value there.
Right.
And just have them subscribe to Wealthy, insert business here.
Yeah. And for those out there that are new in the space and are growing now, it avoids the hassle of having to create their own website behind their own paywall they're providing you all the tools already.
It's almost like business OnlyFans.
Yeah, like I don't need a Patreon. I can go do it on
Patreon's
on
a much better example.
Yeah, I was trying to, we try to keep it clean in the Wealthy Network. But no, you're right. Like it is because your community is probably already there. Right? I don't have to take you off the platform to get what you need. The $15 limit is a little tough, but I get it too. Like they're managing, they want to manage so much. So that'll grow too eventually.
But you think about like, say you have, 1,000 people that sub to you at $15 a month, you know what I mean? That's a pretty penny that you're not really like, as long as you're giving them that value each month, like you can work up to that.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot like some people sub to me, like I have that set up, but I haven't like really like launched it yet. And I think it's something that I'm going to work on soon of getting it like mastered out. But like I've got one dude that's been subbed to me for like 9 months now. Yeah. And like I don't know what he is doing. Yeah, you know what I mean? But shout out to you, bro.
But that's how it goes when like we always say it goes short form, long form, super fan.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the super fan, right? He's like, I don't care. I enjoy this so much that I'm gonna support it.
Yeah.
Because my $15 may push whatever he's planning on doing next forward.
Right.
Right. Like obviously it takes money to keep creating 100%. And doing new things. And so people that support it are the people that build it. And so it's interesting to hear that, man. Like that's awesome. We're gonna talk some more off camera too about it because I'm really interested. But I love that you're doing that for your community already. Right. Like you're generating and building that community before you get established to wherever it is, the top of the market, right? Like because that's coming, right? As long as you're putting the work in, and so it's really interesting to see that you're caring for the community this early. How would you say an individual who doesn't necessarily have the time to do the comment, engagement on the platform, right? Because a lot of people are running businesses at the same time that take a lot of time. Right. Not to say that yours doesn't. I'm just saying like there are a lot of people that do that. What would you say to them that, because I'm going to encourage people to be in these comments, right? Like,
I want to say it's kind of a cop out.
Okay.
Right. Like it doesn't take much to write a sentence, right? Like you're texting people all day long. You know what I mean? Like now just imagine you're replying to a bunch of texts from like people that are like could be your best friends. You have no idea. And I imagine it of like, how do I move this conversation forward to the point that this person's going to come back and either leave another comment or I'm going to ask like a curious question that'll like be like, oh, I wasn't expected. Like most people don't expect me to reply too. That's the other thing. Right. And then once that happens, people are like, oh, okay. Like he's a real person we can work with, like, we can fall in love with him and all that kind of stuff. But I think people that don't say that they don't have time is they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. Just say you don't want to do it. Don't tell me you don't have time.
Yeah.
Like I don't really believe in like the fact that you don't have time.
Yeah.
It's because there is so much extra time in life, like with everything you're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
well, let me play God's advocate,
okay,
right?
okay.
I'm with, and I work with an entrepreneur who does not have time to comment all day. What he has set in place, though, is a content manager that does it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, granted, that does cost. That's going to be an expense to the company. But I can see visibly, like, because of the amount of companies that he's running, there is no time for him to do what you are doing in the comments. But I also know, like, there are solopreneurs that are probably just as busy with less businesses.
Right.
Right? So, yes, it is a cop-out to say that I can't do it at all.
Right.
But you're going after it in these comments. I can tell you a story.
So
let me tell you one story before you even answer. Before you even answer.
Okay.
I used that cop out just because I didn't want to.
Right.
Right. I was like, I don't have time to be commenting on people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had my first video kind of getting to that 100K view mark, and I saw those 40 comments come through, I got time now. Right. Because I was like, oh, now I get the dopamine rush that people get when they see results.
Right.
Right. And my video was about a Bible app. It had nothing to do with content creation.
Right.
Right. I just offered up a strategy to have a better morning.
Okay.
With the Bible app, and it did 100K views in like 24 hours. The most on my channel, or most on my page at least, right, at that moment. And so I was like, all right, let me comment back to people. And I commented because so many people were saying this helped me.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, all right, the least I can do is comment. 3 weeks later, I get my first negative comment. Right. And so I was like, all right, Justin, do you ignore this comment?
Right.
Or do
you load the chamber?
In all seriousness, right? Like, I'm like, all right, what do I do here? Because at this point, people are used to seeing me comment back. So if I ignore this, it's like, right? So I clicked on the person's page. Probably the wrong thing to do, right?
No, I do it. I do
Absolutely
it too.
the wrong thing to do.
I find ambos. I get clips, you know?
Dude, I clicked on it. It was private. All right? So
worst.
I go, bro, your page is private. And that was my comment. I kept it as nice as I could, right? Because in my mind, like, okay, this is what people do. He wanted my comment, right? 100%. Like, he wanted the attention. I'm gonna give it to him, right? This one time, and I told myself I'm not doing this anymore,
right?
But I'm also like, for those individuals that are getting negative comments, don't ignore all of the positive comments to respond to the one negative.
Correct. Yes, 100%.
Right, and that was the only reason I responded, because I was like, I've already responded to all of the positive stuff. I can make a little time for him, right? But it told me too, like, I get those all the time because I'm logged into Ryan stuff. So I see them messages come through daily, right? But it's way more positive than it is that negative.
Right.
So I'll only respond to the negative if it's somebody that I know or somebody that's like, another influencer or something crazy like that.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, I'll take the engagement anyway, right? Like, keep commenting, keep you can't thumbs down it. So it's cool.
Right.
Right. Just keep commenting. And I wanted to see if that responds, because, sometimes people don't give you a negative until they got one already going.
Right.
All right. Then a bunch of comments underneath it, nothing happened. And I was like, so this isn't even how the majority of people feel.
Right.
Which you should have known anyway from the previous comment. But go ahead and answer your question. But I was like, yeah, that is a moment where I'm like, yeah, it's no reason for me to even be doing this.
So to be fair, I only respond to like the first 50.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like,
and our content manager is the same. I always tell her, like, at least the first 30 minutes, respond to people. All right, so that there can be some engagement on each post. But okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, because like after that, like, for example, the Toy Story football video that like has almost 8 million. Like, there came a point where I was like, oh, let me just respond to all this kind of stuff, and then it went on. It was such a roller coaster because like comments were just coming in, being like, oh wow, can't wait for this, like, you guy, and then I'm like, like, it just changes up, and then like people attach to the hat, right?
Yep.
And that's when like everybody, I even pinned a comment at the top of it that literally said, if you're coming here to make a comment, just know that 500 people already beat you to it. Like,
that's funny.
But like, that's how I fight back without having to like, answer every single comment.
Yeah.
And it also just kind of shows a bit more of my personality too. And like, again, like I said, the first 50, those hurt. when like it like continues to come in, you're like, man, I really like this hat. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I guess
and then after a while, you're like, oh, these guys are trolling.
Yeah.
And then it starts to like not hurt as much, I guess. And it doesn't chip away at your ego and all that kind of stuff.
No, for sure.
So.
All right, that's awesome. I hope they're getting a lot of value out of that, because the comment section is important.
Yeah.
But it's also important for you to manage your psyche the best you can. Right.
100%.
Like,
don't let it eat you alive.
No.
Because it can.
No, it will if you dive too deep into it. But it's also a thing where like you want to sustain what you're doing, right? Like you want to be consistent at creating and putting out content. And sometimes that area makes it a little struggle, right? So you just got to be tough. You got to understand that this is social media, so people are on it to be social,
right?
A lot of people are confusing with social media with just media now, where it's like let me show you what I'm doing and offer a product and like they're confusing that part. It is social media, so engagement is important. I'm gonna make a shift here though.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna kind of turn the corner on what we're talking about. I've heard of flipping cars, flipping houses. I've heard of flipping sneakers. You brought to me the first person ever to hear of flipping Funkos.
Correct.
All right. Totally new. And we mentioned it a little bit earlier. You even gifted me a Michael Jordan, which I'm grateful for. It's still sitting on the shelf. I'll make sure everybody can see it on every one of my calls. Always repping. Tell me how that came about and how you got started there.
So that started with the idea of wanting to, I was building out Nerd Alert at the time, and I was like looking at the store and I'm like, what can we sell? That was what like the first thought that I stuck to. Then I went to New York, which was when I like proposed to Rosettie and like all that, like that same trip, right?
Awesome proposal, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate you. So her best friend, Amy and Jared, like are some of our best friends, right? And I'm talking to Jared and he's like, yeah, bro, come check this out. He's like, come check out the Funko collection. I was like, all right. I don't know what you're talking about, but like,
I'll check it out.
Cool, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I walk in and there's hundreds. Like he's got hundreds of these things, but they're all like Comic-Con out. Like he's got all the Comic-Con stickers and like everything like that. And I was like, Jared, what's going on here? I was like, can you tell me what this is all about? And he was like, listen, he's like, I can buy this for $15 at Comic-Con and then sell it on the internet for $350. And I was like, what are you saying to me right now?
Yeah.
And then once I like
adding up the profit in your head, right?
Yeah. And then he was like breaking down like all the different types. He's like, there's chases. He's like, 1 in every 6 has a different color, different variation. That one more expensive. Like, and then he just started breaking down. He's like, they got flocked ones, they got glow in the dark ones, they got all this. And like I started to learn that like Funko built their brand for this to be the case. And then I got into like, we came home and just started buying them. Like me and Rosettie spent probably like 6 hours one day just driving around to like Target, Walmart, GameStop, all this kind of stuff. But like you can scan them with the app, the Funko app, and it'll tell you what the PPG value is, which is the pop price guide value. So you can scan it and be like, oh, this is selling online for, because that's the average of eBay, Amazon, and whatever.
Right.
So you scan it and it's like, oh, it's trending at like $15 more than I can buy it right now. So, okay, I'll buy it here, dump it on OfferUp, and then that's how I started doing it. So then I started to be like, how do I get these for cheaper?
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, I can get a wholesale deal. I can get them for half the price. I can run a retail shop, have like full awesome custom boxes, and like make a business out of it. And that's when like, that's where I was like, now I can order X amount of stuff, sell all the orders that I have, and then keep some long enough for them to become infinitely more valuable. So there's stuff that I just have sitting on the shelves that I know like is not worth anything now, but will be eventually.
Yeah. No, dude, like it was crazy. Like when Zeddy first told me, I was like, oh, okay. Like, cause I see those things everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't even know how much those things are worth. Right. But then later on, it kind of like, it was later, I was at home with the kids and I have a LeBron one on my shelf at home. And I was like, when I bought that, I just bought it because it was a cool little thing that can go on the shelf. It's like, I wonder how much this is worth. All right. And so I was sitting there and I was like, wait, I was into the cars. I was into the bear bricks. I was like, this is the same, really similar to what it is. It's like trading cards.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, this is awesome. By the way, here's what that packaging looks like, you all. This is awesome. But like it was one of those times where I was like, man, they might really be on to something here, because you're like, just like trading cards, it's going to increase over time as long as the company stays within business. So that was awesome. So how many do you have like stocked now?
Do you want the honest answer to that?
Yeah, I want that. I want to know, man. I know there's a ton. How many? Do you even know?
Yes, okay. I do know. I don't have the exact number because I literally just got a notification while we were sitting here that there's boxes sitting outside. But I want to say without those 4 boxes that are up front, I have at least 1,200 of them on hand.
Jeez, bro.
Minimum. And like probably 400 of them are in my personal collection.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Your personal collection now. How do you decide what to keep, what to get off?
For me, it's I collect what I like, right? So it's like I got like the Demon Slayer stuff, I got the Naruto pops, I got the DBZ, like I got whatever it is. And then Rosettie will just be like, I like this one, and then that just becomes part of the collection. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can do.
Yeah. So, you got to pick your battles.
Yep.
No, dude, like I thought flipping couches was like the craziest thing I would hear somebody flipping. But even though this isn't crazy, after I started to understand it, it was the craziest thing. I was like, what are they talking about? Like, because like you said, different things have different values on it. To the average person, we have no idea.
Right. And you walk by them every day.
Yeah, every day.
And that's the like craziest part is like you literally will walk into a Walmart and like you have no idea that one that you just walked by that has this different sticker on it that you've never seen before is worth like 7 times more than the rest of them on that shelf.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. What's long-term goals for that brand and that company?
I think I'm just gonna like continue to work on, branding and make it a more like I'm huge on like customer experience, right? Like so that's where I came up with, I was like, I knew I was already very good with like branding, and I was like, how do I take that to the next level and like make a awesome customer experience so they're going to want to come to shop with me instead of going directly to Funko, Box Lunch, or any of these other places, right? Yeah. So I knew I had to do something to stand out, and that was where like this idea came from. I think it's just like the whole toys and collectibles space in general, right? Like just wholesaling toys like through the Nerd Alert site, and that's where to tie that all back around is the wholesale deal that I have. They have like the, Hasbro, Barbie, like all that kind of stuff. So I can basically, this is like my test run to see if I can get into like toys and collectibles, and then we'll go full like toy store at some point.
All right. So I'm going to speak something just randomly, right? I want to put this out there because this is the way my brain works. One thing that I was always fascinated with, and this is how I got into cars, how I got into Bear Brick, is the art aspect of the toy, the creation, right? And how they displayed art to go along with their brand. I can see that happening for what you're doing, right? So like, and what I mean by the art aspect is like, I've been to exhibitions for cars where they just have huge statues and cause pieces there. And if you don't know what that is, just look it up. You can find it, KAWS, right? To a sneaker collaboration, right? Like I have the Jordan 4, like those are all things that I'm like, man, this is way, like long term, this can be way bigger than just your toy on the shelf that people don't know about. And then there will become a point where certain ones are really hard to find. Right now, I feel like this is about, like the company is about awareness. So they're everywhere, right? Like they're trying to put them in every store and really gain that awareness. But there will be a point to where your collection of 400 will be extremely valuable as long as they play the same course of what it is.
I want to say with what I have right now, if I were to add up the value of our personal collection, I think my Demon Slayer collection alone is like 10K.
10K already.
Yeah.
So and it's just starting. Like it really is like, and I know for me, I'm probably way behind people that were on it early, but for the mass majority of people, this is all new. Like this is brand new. I remember looking back, I don't know if I should even say this. You can order like custom ones.
Yeah.
Right. So like you can get one that looks like Kyle. I can get one that looks like Justin. And I finally found the website again to be able to do that. So I got some coming that are going to be on the shelf that look like,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
that's
So,
sick.
but
Well, Funko actually does it themselves now. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Okay.
like this one was, so like my original one, somebody sent me a link to like a third party that did it. And now I found that they actually do it. So it's awesome. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, man. So it's, you know, this was a fun project, right? I feel like you get to have fun.
Yeah, this was like passion, like full, just like me having a blast. Like I love packaging them. Like I love seeing your face when you're opening them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's fun for me about it. Like
Okay.
I like knowing little nuances about you and your personality that I can find a Funko to match for. You know what I mean? And I think that's what made it really enjoyable for me. Like when I first got into it, I was like, oh, I know that he really likes this rock band. Let me go get like a Funko from this rock band and like hand it to him when I go to his party. Or like, it's just a way for me to connect with people on a deeper level and like show that like I pay attention to our conversations and I like understand like little things that you don't think I'm paying attention to. So
no, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And that's what's going to really, like that translates on video, right? Like you can see when someone has real passion for something, cares about it, and wants to see it grow. And it usually makes whoever's viewing it or whoever's listening to it, you know, feel the same about it. And if not, find a way to support it, right? Like in some way. So it's awesome. Like if I'm not into Funkos, I know somebody else who is.
Right.
And they need to hear from, you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of connection when you really are passionate about something. All right, so let's shift again. All right, we're gonna go into something else. And I want you to explain more about this because again, this is something super useful for, you know, the audience to know about. Stay Beautiful. Tell me more about that project and what you're working on there.
So Stay Beautiful, we launched last year, and we launched it as like a print on demand kind of like hands off kind of like project. Cause like I was getting a bunch of views on like TikTok and Facebook, and I was like, I need something to just sell to these people.
Yeah.
So like it was Stay Beautiful was something that my mother always said to me. And like the core idea of it is like just stay the person that I fell in love with when you were here, right? Like stay beautiful, like stay that person, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the core of it is like, because she would always say it to me when I was like going off to college or like things like that, to like don't come back like someone that I would like find repulsing, you know.
Stay yourself,
Yeah. So it started off there, and then we got probably 3 or 4 drops into the print on demand version, and I just wasn't happy with the quality of clothes that was coming out. I wasn't happy with like shipping dates. Like my mom was showing me some of the products she got, and I was like, this is what I'm like selling. And I felt like to the point that I'm like, I can't like actively feel good about this. So I kind of like put a pause on it. But then I met, well, I've known him for a while now, but Joseph over at Be All In, right? So I linked up with him recently. And he was like, I love the idea. I love the concept, because I was like, I want to bring this back, but I want to do it like, I want to do it on this level where we have like full custom like packaging. We have like a human touch on it. Like I want to make shirts. Like I want to like put my soul into this, right?
Yeah.
So I was telling him to that, and he's like, let's do it. Do you want to do a pop-up here at my shop next week? Or like, I think we're doing it. It's on the 26th.
Okay.
So I don't know when this will come out, but October 26th is when that pop-up would have happened. If this
will be out beforehand. So give them location, give them everything.
It's in Henderson, and I'm going to have to give you some text to put here because I don't know what the address is. But
you can find it down in the description too as well.
Okay. So with that being said, he showed me some of the stuff that he did with Be All In, and then this this hat that he gave me. And like, I just love the quality. I fell in love with the quality of it. And I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So I sat down with him. We put together 3 like super, super sick new designs and colors, and like everything's on like colors that we've never done before. And I'm like, I've never been more excited about this brand than like now. And it was simply just because like I decided to be like, Joe, like, will you help me? And like he like was so open to it, and like and if you ever run into him, he is such a great individual, and I know that you've met him before, and I don't know how you know him, but I only know that because I see the Be All In hat. Be All In hat. Yeah,
that's that shelf I'm talking about. It's all up there. No, it's funny. Like I remember, so we go to a local church, City Light,
Yes.
Las Vegas, here in City Light. Every Sunday, I serve that church in their video department. And what I loved about the church, even initially when I joined in 2018, the end of 2018, was that it was full of entrepreneurs and business owners and individuals that are thinking alike, right? Like we're serving our God and trying to grow businesses that also promote that aspect of it, right? And so that is what awesome. Reading your hat tells everything everybody needs to know. They understand where we stand on our faith and what we believe in, right? And I met Joe. Joe came here to the office and gifted Ryan some of the cookies.
Oh, his wife's cookies?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Let me tell you, Ryan
so
got
sick.
one. All right. Me and Austin, the videographer here, we set that box in our office we was like, we're going to give him 2 days. All right? Because we tried one. And we was like, all right, he got 2 days. If he don't come get this box in 2 days, we splitting these up equally. Right? And so that's what happened. I'm going to be honest.
I love that.
Right? I took one home. My sons were going crazy, so I let them have a few of them. But I say all that to say, like, he has really good product.
Correct.
Right? And the hat is just another example of that. And so it's funny, when you look at the hat, I was like bawling. I was like, I ain't heard that in a while. Right? But then when I saw the separation in the words, I was like, oh, I like this. He has a product that, will grow. What's the saying? He's also good friends with Dennis, who, so like it's another City Light, so it's like, it's just fun, right? Like, that's why I was ecstatic to see you there, bro. Like I was like, yes, and inviting Zeddy out. She was like, yeah, I got to get Kyle out. I was like, don't worry, he'll get out. He'll come. But it was just, that's how I got to know him. So that product is really good. And because he has a trusted product, I know that your products are going to be amazing as well.
And that's what I was most excited about it. It's like he has the experience that we lacked, right?
Yeah.
And he has done a lot of like, I think this, from him, our meeting the other day, I think he said this would be his like 15th brand that he's built like in the last 3 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're all successful and all working well, which is like crazy to have a success rate like that.
Yeah.
And like the be all in is like wild. I can't tell you what he's about to do with this, but like that bro is about to do something crazy with that brand. And like, if you know, you know. That's all I got to say.
That's it. No, that's awesome, man. That's exciting. So like we said, we're going to put it, the invite down in the description. We'll create something for it so that people can, get to that pop-up and support you. The Funko flips, make sure y'all support that. Get in early, all right? Like this is going to change. This is going to evolve and really grow rapidly. And then be sure to follow him on his socials, Nerd Alert Kyle. But yeah, that's awesome, dude. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Thank you for coming, man. Thank you for touching on all your business. I told everybody all your business, but these are conversations I want creators to understand, right? Like there's different ways of going about it. You can be an individual who is trying to grow and then trying to figure out monetization, or do it simultaneously like you're doing, right? You said, I got some views, I get some follows, I got to have a product.
Yep.
Right? And that's the way it should work, right? Like you just got to have something to offer your people. You're doing your audience a disservice if you are not offering them something that will help them.
Correct.
Whether that be something that will help them in a way of feeling or something that will help them in a way of education, it doesn't matter. You're doing them a disservice by creating content and not offering them something to support you, but also support and help themselves. So with that said, this has been another episode of Wealthy Creator Podcast. I am your host, Justin Berry, with my good friend here, Kyle, and I appreciate you guys for listening. I'll see you on the next one.